Today, I'm honored to introduce someone whose work brings healing and empowerment in the most beautiful, transformative way. Tara Williamson, founder and CEO of Pink Ink Tattoo. Tara is not only an internationally recognized, award winning certified specialist in areola, 3D nipple, and scar camouflage tattooing, she's also a breast cancer survivor, nurse, early detection advocate, nonprofit, and inspiration to thousands of women and men on their healing journeys. After navigating her own diagnosis and reconstruction, Tara saw a deep unmet need that went beyond surgery. She knew survivors deserved more than cookie cutter options. They deserved realistic, personalized care that helps them feel whole again. That realization led her to trade one needle for another, using her medical expertise, artistry, and heart to create a space where confidence is restored, identities are reclaimed, and stories of resilience are celebrated. To building a welcoming medical facility in Lewisburg, North Carolina, Pink Ink Tattoo has become a trusted name nationwide, helping survivors reclaim their bodies, reshape their narratives, and step boldly into life's second act. Please join me in welcoming Tara Williamson, a healer, creator, advocate, and voice for all survivors who deserve beauty, choice, and hope. Tara, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. That was beautiful.
Well, in order to start the conversation, I'd like to just start at the beginning. So before Pink Ink, tell us about who you were. Who was Tara before Pink Ink Tattoo?
Before Pink Ink Tattoo, Tara was a mom, a wife, a nurse, and, a friend and a sister, a daughter. I was just living my life and actually going back to college to get a higher degree in nursing. I've always been in the medical field since I was 18 years old and went to nursing school in my 20s and just wanted to continue. I loved it. I love caring for people. And so that's what I was doing before Pink Ink Tattoo.
That's amazing. And what first drew you into tattoo artistry and working with cancer survivors? Can you walk us down, your own journey and really what inspired you to make the change?
Absolutely. I never thought I would ever be offer tattoos, especially areola tattoos. Matter of fact, working as a nurse for so many years, I'd never even heard of it. And I had taken care of breast cancer patients. So, I have a few tattoos, so I'm not against it. I just had never heard anyone ever speak of it. And
Right.
so I was blown away when that day happened, which was 2013. And that was after my own diagnosis of breast cancer at the age of 39. I just had a great, fantastic doctor that said, let's do a mammogram. And I went in and we had done it, for a few years. And then I kind of hesitated. I just kind of, life gets busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going for my annual checkup and I knew she was going to say something. It had been a couple of years. And my doctor was like, hey, Tara. And I said, I already know. I've already scheduled. I'm going to be going in January. And so she was like, all right, all right. I'm sure it's fine, but I want you to go ahead. It's been 3 years now. So I scheduled that mammogram in 2012. And that's when my whole life turned upside down. Yeah. So that's when they came back and said, you're going to go see a specialist. And then, as every cancer patient knows, you're on full speed ahead. And then
Absolutely.
what are you going to do? This is what you're doing, treatments and this and that. And I had to stop for a minute and say, hold on, that's not the treatment I want. This is what I want. And my breast surgeon was just not listening to me at all. And it was horrible because, I felt like, wait a minute, I'm educated. I've prayed about this. I've talked to my family about this. I knew mentally what would be best for me. And I was 39 years old. I had 3 kids, small kids at home, or, younger ones. They needed their mom. And a lot of people, look when I say this, but then they understand. I'm all about save the woman, not necessarily save the tatas. Um, so for me, it was like, take them, I got to go. Like, I want to be aggressive. And she just kept pushing for a different treatment, lumpectomy, tamoxifen, and radiation. And I was like, no, I don't want that. And so during that 6-week period with this, breast surgeon who is very well known, and I mean, she is one of the best in the industry. So I felt like I was in great hands, except for the fact she wasn't listening to me. During this time, my dad got really sick and, sadly passed away. So I'm, burying my father and then fighting with her to have the treatment I want. I'm thinking my body, my choice, but not in this case. And so when I get home, we do the surgery because she says, let's just get the cancer out and then we'll, talk about moving forward. Unfortunately, that pathology came back and it was now invasive. So it had actually grown, spread, and I just could not believe it. I couldn't believe that I was sitting here fighting for my own life, literally. And so I found my voice and I went back in for that checkup and I said, if you can't support me, I got to go. Like, this is no.
Good for
And
you.
we shouldn't have to be fighting for this. And so she came around immediately and we scheduled a date. So I had a double mastectomy, and that was May of 2012. And that, which included expanders, which at that time went under the muscle and stretched the skin and the muscle. And then they filled it up with saline. They left that for a few, which I love my plastic surgeon. He was amazing. He would fill it up, and we did that all summer long. And then we waited. And then right before Christmas of 2012, we did the exchange where they take them out and then put an implant in. A couple of months later, we went in to do nipple reconstruction, which I had known from the beginning. That's what I wanted to do. And, and that's not for everybody, but for me, that's what I felt like. I just wanted to get back to as close as natural as possible. And for me, that meant that. So I did the nipple reconstruction and I thought that was going to be it. Like, all right, we're done. I mean, there's no color, but there's something there. So, all right. And I accepted that. But he said, well, now we got to talk about areola tattooing. And I literally almost fell out of that chair. I could not believe it. I said, what? And he was like, well, yeah, they'll add pigment. And I go, who is this expert? I have to meet them. This is amazing that they're giving women back. I would have went anywhere. This is just how beautiful and how amazing. What a blessing. And he said, well, I don't know any expert, but our nurse has been trained a couple of times. He was like, let's look at her work. We did. And we both were like, let's keep looking. So for a few months, we actually looked across the country. I found a couple of tattoo artists, traditional tattoo artists, and bless them. I mean, they did great work, but I didn't want to go to a tattoo shop. And I'm not intimidated by that. It's just, I have tattoos, but this was special. And I'm not just going to get, I mean, every tattoo special, when people get tattoos, but this was different. And I just wanted it to be a different experience. So I ended up going back to my doctor and he said she got trained again and they look pretty decent. And I saw and I was like, you know what, let's just put some color on it. Let's just do it. So I went in there and she was like, you have 3 colors and 3 choices. And I went, what? And she said, yeah, bubblegum pink, nude, or chocolate brown, small, medium, large. And I said, are you kidding me? Like, are you going to mix them? Like, I did not look like that. That's not even natural. This doesn't even look. And she was like, no, this is what areola tattoos look like. This is what nipples look like. And I just said, you got to be kidding me. So I chose one and we went into her room and it was cold and she put her music on and she started tattooing. She half a nipple. And I said, you know what? Can you, numb it, put on some lidocaine or something? She was like, no. And I was like, well, I'm a nurse and you're a nurse. I approve. Let's do it. And she was like, no, we don't use lidocaine. And traditional tattoo artists don't either, Tara. You shouldn't feel anything. You had a double mastectomy. And I looked at her. I said, well, then I'm a miracle because I feel everything. And it was like hypersensitive. And I'll put it this way. I had 3 children with barely any medication at all. And this pain was it was 5 times worse. It was so intense. It felt like somebody had a hot needle literally digging into me. And I about came out of that chair. I just could not, but I bared down and I finished it. And then when I left that room, on the way out, there's like a hallway with dim light. And I went through there and I was just like, this is so unacceptable. I can't believe this is the end of this whole reconstruction journey. Like, and then something came over me, which I like to say is divine intervention, but it came over and said, you have to do this. You're going to do this. And I walked through the door, my plastic surgeon was standing there and he said, what do you think? And I said, this is unacceptable. Like, we deserve the best, and I'm going to go train with the best in the world, and I'm coming back and doing this because we deserve it. He said, do it. And a few months later, I called him and I said, hey, I started a business. It's called Pink Ink Tattoo. I've already tattooed 4 women, and I'd love to chat about it. And he said, oh my God, Tara, get in here. So I went into his office and showed him my whole business plan, portfolio, and everything. And he stood up, put his hands on his desk and said, this is my office. You get in here and you help women. So I saw women from all over the country at his office for 8 years until I opened up Pink Ink Tattoo in Lewisburg 5 years ago. So I've been solely practicing out of my own medical office in Lewisburg for the past 5 years. I still travel, and we can talk about all that, but that's what led me into areola tattooing. I don't do traditional tattoos. I don't do any. All I focus on is areola, 3D nipple, and scar camouflage. I mean, my office does offer eyebrows, but that's because I saw that need as well. And I was hearing feedback from other artists that were providing this service, and I know how to do it. And I thought, no, the standard, it has to be changed. Like, we've been through so much. We've lost body parts, or we've had surgery or chemotherapy. We don't have any eyebrows. The last thing I need is to go into some fancy shop and just have, like, you're just so emotionally broken for so many people. All they want is just to get back to normal as close as possible. Just some eyebrows or some nipples, and I don't mean it like just some. Like, this is so important to so many people.
Absolutely.
So choosing your provider makes the whole experience and the everything just so much different than just running out and grabbing whoever for the cheapest cost or the whatever, just because it is an experience,
Well, and the advocacy that you not only had for yourself when you were going through your journey, but the fact that you recognized a need and, as a fellow survivor, just having the option to reclaim part of your body after having gone through surgery and chemo is just so amazing. And the work that you do is so incredibly powerful for helping women and men move beyond. And with that, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your foundation you started. There's the Pink Ink Promise. So it's very in line with that, we were talking before with your desire and that need or that feeling you had to help others. So can you tell us a little bit about your foundation?
Absolutely. When I started Pink Ink Tattoo in 2014, I knew from the beginning it was going to go beyond areola tattooing. Like, this is my community. I needed to help, and I wanted to educate, bring awareness, and advocate, especially because I had advocated so hard for myself. So immediately I was going to do a Day of Hope. That I do it every year. Every year it's different. I've always given free areola tattooing to uninsured or underinsured women. While raising, awareness and education, bringing nonprofits from all over my state together, or raising money for another nonprofit. We've done bike rides, everything. So I knew every year, like, something. So it just made sense that when, pioneering areola tattooing in 2014, and then joining Susan G. Komen. I've led their race on motorcycles since 2017. I'm a policy change maker with them, so advocating on Capitol Hill.
Wow.
And which, while I was there last April, on Capitol Hill, getting bills pushed, which I'm so excited to share that it did get pushed like a week ago. And the funding is not only what it has been for the past few years, but now we've actually increased the
Oh,
money and the funding. So, I mean, hallelujah. I mean, it's just so much more that you can do with that. So it's very important. So while I was in DC last April, I was able to um, give my bill that I wrote called the Tara Williamson bill, and it is for areola tattooing specific, and it's in the hands of Congress right now and senators. So hopefully that gets, on the floor and it gets passed without hesitation. And so now you can be reimbursed without issue at all, never have to appeal, which I love. Yep. So that is super exciting. But on that, January 1st. So my son works with me. He does all my business and marketing. Um, we have always talked about a nonprofit, but I've just been so hyper focused on Pink Ink Tattoo that, I just didn't want to spread myself. Do I have time? Because I'm still a mom and a wife and now a grandma. So I want to make sure, and I prioritize, like, my family has to be first so that I can be successful every other asset of my life. And January 1st came and it had just been really heavy on my heart for the last few months. And I looked at my son and I was like, Alex, I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it now. And he was like, do it, Mom. It's well past time. So the beginning of the month, the beginning of January, we applied and were accepted and everything is going smooth. And I'm so thankful. But we started the Pink Ink Promise Foundation,
wow.
and that is going to be a nonprofit that I have not shared at all on social media. Like, it hasn't even been put out. So you're like one of the few that has the breaking news. And it's kind of a lean off of Pink Ink Tattoo. It's definitely going to have awareness, education, advocacy, but ultimately it's going to be able to reach more women and men in need of areola tattooing that maybe don't have insurance or going through a tough time. When you come out of a cancer diagnosis and surgeries and treatments, I mean, I've lived it. I know the funding isn't like, our money went tight. We went from two incomes to a half an income because my husband would not leave my side. Like, I'm like, go to work. And he's like, you're not going by yourself. I'm going with you. So we had to make decisions. Do we pay this or do we get this? You know what I mean? And having that last step of areola tattooing, you shouldn't have to. It should be, all right, you're finished with surgery. You're released to go get your tattoos and go live your best life.
I love that. That is so incredible. And you're right. It shouldn't even be, you
Yeah.
shouldn't have to make a choice to feel like yourself again.
Right.
And so, with that, we talk a lot about during treatment. And, really the focus is on treatment. But what parts of survivorship, having lived it yourself, having worked with survivors, do you think that aren't talked about enough?
One huge thing that I don't think is talked about enough is the family and friends affected, because we do focus on us as we should. And the team is focused on the patient as they should. But the spouses, the children, the friends kind of get the second part. They get whatever leftover that you have, and or people. And I think it's so important that you cannot forget, like, take time out. You're struggling. I mean, I lost my dad during all this, but I had to remember, like, my husband is by my side 24/7, literally. I mean, after 7 surgeries in 14 months, I slept on a bed, I slept in a chair, I slept on a cot, I slept on the couch, anything to make me comfortable. And he was right there on the floor in the chair beside me. And I just had to take a breath, step back, and be thankful, and let him know I appreciate him. Same with my kids. I had to put, even to this day, like, I have to um, walk out and be present. I think that's a huge thing. You have to be present in the situation that if you're spending time with your children, be present, be their mom, be with them, or grandma. So when my grandkids come over who are 7 months and 7 years old, I am 100% grandma. Like the work is going to be shut down. I have to, although it took a long time because my brain, I'm always like, if I get an email, I have to respond. I want them to know I do care. And I'm the one that responds to emails. Like I'm the one that responds to phone calls. But then it was like, we were doing a girls' beach weekend, and I have great girlfriends who have been affected by breast cancer. If it's not them, it's one of us. So out of 7 of us, now 8, 4 have been affected. And that is just unacceptable. And we were all young, 39, 41, and no family history, no genetic mutation, and all hormone positive. Double mastectomies, lumpectomies, mastectomy. Like, it's just awful. So we were at the beach one weekend, and I was talking about an event coming up, and one of my girlfriends, and I'll never forget this because it really just flicked the switch. She said, I love you so much. And we support you so much. We're at everything. We read, post everything. Like we've got your back. What you do is so important to us. But we kind of miss Tara. Like we want you. And I went, oh. And that was probably 5, 6 years ago. And I had to stop and say, no, it was probably about 7, right before my granddaughter was born. And I was like, yes, I can't always be this. I have to be present. So long answer, but I think that is what people need to remember. Like your support system, they have to be reminded that you're grateful for them and you're thankful for their support and their love, even if they're just sitting with you.
Absolutely, and that's a theme that's come up pretty often in different conversations that I've had. Is the focus is typically on the patient, but there's such a large community that is still going along the journey with you, and sometimes it takes those frank conversations from someone you love to help reground you and recenter
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
And so when you offer this or you have conversations for both women and men who come in, how do you see their confidence or identity change throughout the process? Yeah, as
When
you offer them, the option to kind of reclaim their body.
Absolutely. And it is 100% every single person I've seen when they walk in my office, it's the unknown. A lot of people don't have tattoos and now they're getting 1 or 2. And it's in that area that is so, it had been so private for so many people. And now here we're going to lay on a chair or whatever and have this procedure done. So there's a lot of anxiety or emotions,
Oh, sure.
the unknown, and so they walk in probably anxious, nervous, timid, just all those feelings. And then, in my office is like a spa. I mean, it is so cozy, it is so welcoming, and that's how it should be. Like this is the celebration part of it. So you should feel good when you come in, and they do. And then when we're done tattooing and they look in that mirror and it just, it's like windshield wipers of light. Everything changes because
Oh,
it's like, oh my gosh, I'm back. And so when they leave, it's laughing and hugging and tears and sometimes pictures and talking because they came in not knowing and left feeling almost like their self. And everything that I do, they're so beautiful. And every time I do a tattoo, I'm like, thank you so much for this gift I didn't know, which is the book I wrote. Literally, that's pretty much the name of it. And it goes through all of that because I didn't know I had this gift. And I'm so thankful that these women and men feel so confident and like their self again, and I try to make that as realistic looking as possible. I'm not God. They're not natural. It is a tattoo. But if it can look so close to a natural nipple areola, that's what we're going for. And I'm so proud that that's what they do look like. And I'm very thankful that I didn't know I had this gift. And I'm hate I had to go through it for my family, but I wouldn't change anything because here I am, help, and people say, oh, you help so many. And I'm thinking they help me in return, because this is not the experience I went through. Like, I get to live vicariously through their experience at my office and with me, because I didn't have this. And so that's why when you leave, you're laughing and you're hugging and you're smiling and you can't get enough looking in the mirror, because it's just unbelievable. And that's how it should be anywhere you go.
And it's just really incredible that you took your experience and really transformed and paved the way for others to have such a more buoyant and positive experience than you had. That's really amazing.
Well, we deserve it.
And to help them reclaim their bodies. No
Absolutely.
one wants to go on a journey, whether it be breast cancer or any type of accident that results in a scar, but to be
Yeah.
able to reclaim that and have a choice, I think is so incredibly powerful.
Well, we all deserve to feel good in our own skin, no matter what your journey is.
Oh, 100%. And when you think about the advocacy that you do, going to Capitol Hill and starting nonprofits, and the fact that you have a bill with Congress right now in your name is just so awe-inspiring. How how can other people support even if they haven't been personally impacted or affected by cancer? How can they support what you're doing?
Well, of course, just having that conversation. I'm all about breaking the barriers of the word nipple or tattoo. And I think that has been something that over the past 14 years, 12 years, being a survivor and having pink ink tattoo, that word is so restrictive in so many people's, minds. And it's so sad, because for me, it's like opening up that conversation. What do you do? I literally have been at breast cancer events, and a couple like a husband and wife, or a couple has walked past and go, oh, I don't do tattoos. And I'm like, well, no, these are special.
Right.
This is, when you've had a mastectomy. And then it's like, oh, what is it? And then you have to educate them. And then they look at the photos and they're like, oh my God, I thought you were just doing, pink ribbon tattoos or tattoos. I'm like, no, I don't even do that. I don't do those kind of tattoos. So here we are, 2026, and people still don't know about it. So I think how they can get involved is definitely talk about it. Just educate others about this whole process. And of course, connect with me, on social media, especially when I get my nonprofit going, because we're going to be doing fantastic events, raising funds to help women and men, which is another thing. Men don't think that they can get breast cancer, but they do. I
Hmm.
literally just tattooed a 42-year-old man he's a mayor of South Carolina, a couple of years ago, 42, no family history, double mastectomy. So, yeah.
And how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way to find you when with socials or online?
Sure. So probably the easiest is my website, which is pinkinktattoo.com. And then through there, you can chat, you can connect with my Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I have every single thing under Pink Ink Tattoo. I just don't put photos on social media. And that is strictly out of respect. I never have. People have tagged me, but I have never put before and after photos. And that's because I think it's very important to, it's personal. And if you're serious and you need to see you need to see before and after, of course, from your provider, go to the website, because that's where you can see, hundreds. And if you need more, I can give you thousands. I've literally tattooed thousands of men and women from around the world. So I have plenty of before and afters. I just don't feel like going on social media. So if you're looking for that, they won't be there. They'll be on my website.
And you had mentioned earlier that you have traveled to provide your tattoo service. So, have you traveled globally? Do you find a lot of people come to you?
So I haven't traveled globally. I have done like keynote speaking in India. Of course, this is all over the internet. I haven't gone in person, and Canada. and other, countries. But as far as traveling, I've only been in America, in the US, traveling all the way to Fort Worth, Texas. I'm based out of North Carolina, but I travel to Mississippi, across our state here in North Carolina. But once I opened Pink Ink in um, Lewisburg in 2021, I've kind of cut back a little bit on the traveling. And, sadly, a lot of doctors are kind of getting out of reconstruction, and that is heartbreaking. So but I still do. Like, I'm going to Tupelo in a few months, Mississippi. So I'll be down there, and I see women. I'll see their patients at this particular plastic surgeon's, but another plastic surgeon, like everyone in the area and in neighboring states, will come there. Which I love that plastic surgeon for saying, "Hey, I don't care. Everybody can come." So I've seen women from Alabama, when they know I'm going to be in Mississippi, they'll travel there because it's closer than coming to North Carolina.
Sure.
But yes, at my office in Lewisburg, I've had people fly in from I mean, literally, I had two sisters come from Africa. Yeah, a lady from, I mean, they have a house in Georgia, but they have lived there for over 50 years in Africa. So what an honor. I mean, I'm just one human being, and for them to research and choose me, I mean, that's a true honor. Like, I am forever grateful for everybody that walks through my door. So
And I think it just speaks to the beautiful work that you do and the ability to help everyone, women and men, reclaim who they were before.
yeah.
And so what message, and we've talked through this a little bit, but what message would you want someone newly diagnosed or newly finished with treatment to hear today?
I think one of the best things is the best is yet to come. And you will always have, cancer is a part of your life. And it should always be like, if you can see me, like, it's, instead of having it in the front of your head, it needs to be in the back. It's always going to be back there. Don't ever let it come up, because it doesn't deserve to be the priority in your life. We have a second chance at life. So you put it back where it belongs. I'm not saying push it down. I'm just saying have your feelings and then move on, because you can't be stuck in that. Like, that first year is hard, and life is beautiful. And so to me, I just felt like I can't live in that moment, because I'm missing out on this beautiful life that I am now given a second chance out. So I just feel like the best is yet to come, and you'll get through it.
Beautiful. And just great words to live by. Now, for me personally, 5 years out, and I never thought I would see the day where cancer wasn't the first thing I thought about when I woke up and the last thing I thought about when I went to sleep. But now I'm living your message. I'm thankful for each day and glad to be here.
Absolutely. And that's what your husband wants, and your children, you
Yes,
know?
absolutely. So, Tara, thank you so much for taking the time with me today and sharing your story, your journey that began with a challenge and became a purpose driven mission, touching thousands of lives all over the world. Your work with Pink Ink Tattoo reminds us that healing isn't just physical, it's emotional, holistic, and deeply personal. You help people see themselves again, feel confident in their bodies, and help embrace their stories with courage. So, for anyone listening who may be navigating their own path through diagnosis, treatment, or survivorship, I hope Tara's voice and her work reminds you that you deserve care that honors your experience, choices that help you feel whole, and support that uplifts you beyond the scars. So, to learn more about Tara and Pink Ink Tattoo, visit pinkinktattoo.com and stay tuned for more information about her nonprofit and how you can get involved. So, Tara, again, thank you for being here today, for your compassion, your leadership, and your unwavering dedication to this community of survivors.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.